Let's look at this part of the exponents and log packet. Simplify each expression. Your answers should contain only positive exponents. So before we start this section, let's review the law of exponents from Algebra 1. So if you recall this formula chart from Algebra 1, we have the property of exponents. We have product of powers. That's where you're adding the exponents together. So we have a to the nth power times a to the nth power equals a to the m plus n power. We have quotient of powers. That's where you're subtracting exponents. You have an a to the m all over a to the n, and then that is a to the m minus n power. We have power of a power. That's multiplied exponents together. We have parentheses a to the m, close parentheses to the nth power, equals a to the m times n power. We have rational exponent, that's dividing the exponents. A to the m over n power equals the nth root of a to the m power. We have negative exponent, flip the fraction. A to the negative nth power equals 1 over a to the nth. And then we have zero exponent. A to the 0 power equals 1. So you'll use these properties to simplify exponential expressions. Here are some examples from the exponential manual notes. You can find those on the Unit 10 rubric page. So here is an example for adding exponents. We have 3 to the 7th times 3 to the 2nd. That's 3 to the 9th. Here's quotient of powers, some examples of that. Power of a power. And also let's review that these are the different types of forms. We have expanded form, multi-powered form, exponential form, scientific notation, and standard notations. And then we have rational exponents. It's also known as the radical property. Notice that the n, if there's nothing there, there's a 2. And also n is called the index. And then this part inside, that's the radicand. Here's negative exponents. And then other exponent properties. And here's some examples where you put them together. So let's look at number 7 on here. We have 2k squared to 0 power all over k to the negative 4th power times 2k cubed. Well, remember, if you raise something to the 0 power, that's going to just be 1. And then k to the negative 4th, we would move up here. And then 2k cubed, we would just leave down here. Now from there, we're going to have k to the 4 minus 3, and then we still have it all over 2. We're going to bring the k up at the top so that we have all the variables together. 4 minus 3 is 1, so you have k to the first power over 2. So your simplified expression is k over 2. Let's go back and name the properties. So in this first step, we did the zero exponent and the negative exponent properties. For the next step, we did the quotient property. And then the last one, we just simplify it out. Okay, let's look at number 13. We have x cubed, y to 0, all raised to the 4th, times 2x to the negative 3rd power. Okay, so the zero exponent, well, before we do that, let's go ahead and distribute that 4 to each of those exponents. So I have x to the 4 times 3. We'll go ahead and write that out. and then y to the 0 times 4 times 2x to the negative third. So then we have x to the 12th times y to the 0 times 2x to the negative 3. Well, y to the 0 is just 1. So then we have x to the 12th, we have a 2, and then we have a minus 3. So that reduces to 2x to the 9th power. And that's your simplified expression. Now if we go back and add our properties, this one we did the product power of a power. Right, for those two. And then for the next step we did zero property. And the product property. So adding exponents. And then you get your answer. Let's look at one more together. Number 18. M to the negative 3 times p squared times q to the negative 3 times m cubed times p squared all over m q to the 4th, all raised to the negative 1 power. Well, when we have a negative exponent, we just flip the fraction. And then 1 times each of these exponents would still be those exponents. So that could be your first step. So we have mq4 all over m cubed p squared q to negative 3 m cubed p squared. Now let's move everything to the numerator using our negative exponent property. So we have m q to the 4th, which was already there, and then we're going to add all the rest of these down here, but now we're going to change each of the exponent signs from negative to positive or positive to negative. Now we'll group them all together. And then we'll evaluate each of these expressions. 1 minus 3 minus 3, m to the negative 5, p to the negative 2, and then q to the 5th power. Okay, it only wants positive exponents, so now we're going to move those negative exponents back to the denominator. So for these kind, the first step is to flip the fraction with the negative on the very outside. Move all the variables to the top by changing their exponent signs. Grouping each of the variables' exponents together. Simplifying those expressions in the exponents. And then moving all the negative exponent variables back to the denominator. So if we go back and look at our properties, the first step we did the negative exponent property. The next step we also did negative exponent property where we moved all the denominator variables to the top. The next step we want to group the like terms together and they use the positive exponent property, the adding exponents product. And then the last step, we would just use negative exponents again to move all the negative exponents to the denominator again. Okay, go ahead and try more of these questions in this section on your own. Please show the appropriate steps That means to show these steps in purple and then go back and show what properties you used at the end. Be sure to check the back for the key to check to see if your work is correct. And then move on to the next video.